There's a good reason why this WWE match has only happened once. In early 2008, CM Punk and Chavo Guerrero were feuding over the ECW title. One of their matches was a Gulf of Mexico match. The only way to win was to throw your opponent into the Gulf of Mexico. Thankfully, the arena WWE was at was only a few yards away from the Gulf. Punk and Guerrero brawled into the crowd and out the door until he got right next to the water. After hitting the GTS, Chavo went flying into the ocean, making CM Punk the first and only Gulf of Mexico match winner. Triple H was in control of the March 17th, 2008 edition of Raw. With all the power in his hands, the game decided to make his WrestleMania opponents, John Cena and Randy Orton, team up. Now, rather than make them face off against a tag team or something, Triple H had Cena and Orton fight the entire Monday Night Raw roster. John Cena and Randy Orton had to take on a small army of wrestlers entirely by themselves. But despite that, the two actually held their own and made several eliminations. Ultimately, the Raw roster got themselves disqualified when they all swarmed the ring. John Cena did even the playing field with a steel chair, but it was Triple H who had the last laugh. Now that match was pretty big. How about we look at something smaller? Literally. In 2014, WWE presented WeLC. Hornswoggle and El Torito faced off in a match where everything was a wee bit smaller. The tables, ladders, and chairs were all mini. The ring announcer and referee were a size down too. The match even had a special commentary team of Micro Cole, Jerry the Mini King Lawler, and Wee BL. Even the ring looked a bit smaller than usual. Despite the compact size, WeLC was actually really good. There were several awesome moments and the crowd got into it. This is the definition of fun size. You're either going to find this next match hot or disgusting. In 2001, Trish Stratus and Stacy Keibler faced off in a gravy bowl match. The two sat at a dinner table with a pool of gravy right next to them. The two used food as weapons and ultimately ended up fighting inside the gravy bowl. Trish got the victory after forcing Stacy to tap out, but it's easily one of the messiest wrestling matches of all time. However, there is one that was even messier. Fans who watched Extreme Rules 2009 got to see a very rare match. Vicky and Chavo Guerrero fought Santina Marella in a hog pen match. Rather than wrestle in a ring, they fought in a small fenced pen filled with mud and with pigs right next to them. The competitors also used buckets of slop to fight each other off. As you would expect, the match was very, very messy. Despite the handicap, Santina Marella pinned Vicky Guerrero and was named the official Miss WrestleMania. In most matches, you can see all the wrestlers competing, but not this one. WrestleMania 22 saw Shawn Michaels fight his boss, Vince McMahon. Despite interference from McMahon's son, Shane, and the Spirit Squad, HBK was triumphant in that encounter. Instead of being a good sport about it, Vince claimed that Shawn Michaels' victory was an act of God. McMahon then set up a no-holds-barred tag team rematch. Vince and Shane McMahon would take on Shawn Michaels and God. Before the match, God got his own entrance and everything. McMahon even told the referee to check the Almighty for weapons. Once the match got started, Shawn Michaels handled things pretty well on his own. However, the Spirit Squad got involved, which ultimately led to the McMahons getting the win, which technically means Vince McMahon is 1-0 over God. Now this next match is really bizarre. Not only did it not take place in a wrestling ring, but the wrestlers weren't even on solid ground. In 1995, Dustin Rhodes, aka Goldust, fought a wrestler named the Blacktop Bully on a moving truck. It was called a King of the Road match, and the goal is to honk a horn at the front of the truck. As you would expect, being on a moving vehicle made it difficult for both men to stay standing up. In the end, Blacktop Bully won the match, and the whole thing was soon forgotten. Usually when you watch a WWE match, the wrestlers fight each other and the referee officiates. Well, in 2001, things got flipped around and the referees fought each other while a wrestler officiated. After WWE bought WCW and ECW, a massive war broke out with the WCW and ECW wrestlers banding together to fight the WWE wrestlers. This rivalry carried over to the referees on both sides too, leading WWE's top referee Earl Hebner to face off against WCW's top referee Nick Patrick, with Mick Foley as the actual referee. Even though they were refs, Hebner and Patrick hit pretty hard and didn't hold anything back. In the end, Earl got the win for WWE in the first and only referee versus referee match. Now this next one is just like a normal WWE match, except for one major difference. The match I'm talking about is a Trading Places match. How it works is both wrestlers have to dress up like their opponents. The first time we saw a Trading Places match was in 2008 when Hardcore Holly faced off against Carlito. Not only did the two men wear each other's gear, but they also wore wigs to represent the other man's hair. The Trading Places match was brought back again in 2010 when William Regal had to dress up as Goldust. Goldust, on the other hand, committed to his role and brought out a pair of brass knucks. WWE should really bring this match back. Imagine a Trading Places match between The Undertaker and Kelly Kelly. Have you ever heard the expression an eye for an eye? Well, Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins took that very literally. In 2020, Rollins and Mysterio were fighting in a tag team match. Seth ended up piercing Rey's eye with the ring steps and temporarily took the luchador out of action. This logically led the master of the 619 to challenge Seth Rollins to an eye for an eye match. In this match, you didn't win by pinning your opponent or making them submit. Instead, you only won once you gouged out your opponent's eye. Rey Mysterio was the unfortunate loser of that match, but conveniently, doctors were able to save Rey's eye. Have you ever heard of the Duchess of Queensberry rules match? If not, I unfortunately can't explain the rules because nobody knew. The first and only time this match type was used was at Backlash 2001. The Duchess of Queensberry watched on as William Regal took on Chris Jericho. Throughout the match, the Duchess would interrupt to announce a rule. Usually that benefited William Regal. As far as we know, these are the rules of a Duchess of Queensberry match. Rule 1. The match has rounds that last 4 minutes and 49 seconds. Rule 2. There's no disqualification. And Rule 3. You cannot win by submission. There might be more, but it's unlikely we'll ever find out. Like all major sports, WWE isn't shy about having sponsors at their shows. However, in 2023, they took things to a new level when they named an entire match after a brand. At the Royal Rumble, Bray Wyatt and LA Knight competed in the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. In addition to the whole ringside area being decked out in the Mountain Dew branding, a black light was placed over the ring, giving everything a neon effect. The match seemed to have it all, except for actual Mountain Dew Pitch Black, but what you gonna do? In 2020, WWE was forced to run their shows without fans. First, they held their events in the Performance Center and eventually moved to the Thunderdome. This also led to a lot of different matches, like the Boneyard match, the Swamp Fight, and more. But perhaps the weirdest match of them all was the 2020 Money in the Bank ladder match. It was held inside WWE's headquarters with the briefcases located at the top of the building. Both the men's and women's Money in the Bank matches went on at the same time, leading to a mad scramble all over the building. It felt like a WWE video game had come to life, with various WWE characters making cameos and wrestlers finding secret rooms. The wrestlers didn't even get into the ring until over 15 minutes after the match had started. While that was weird, this next match was pretty normal, but with one big stipulation. In early 2004, John Cena was butting heads with Rhino and the SmackDown general manager, Paul Heyman. This led to a match between Cena and Rhino that was no disqualification. Only for Rhino, that is. However, that's not the weird part. The match was officially called Loser Wash Your Mouth Out with Soap match. If Cena lost, he would have to put soap in his mouth, and if Rhino lost, then Paul Heyman would have to do the same. Despite the odds not being in his favor, John Cena won, and with some help from Chris Benoit, Heyman ate his soap. The only other thing to say is that this clip of John Cena is hilarious out of context. You know how wrestling fans will pretend to have their own WWE matches in their backyard or basement? Well, WWE has done that too. At the Fully Loaded pay-per-view in 1998, WWE presented the first and only dungeon match. Ken Shamrock took on Owen Hart in the basement of Owen's childhood home, which is called The Dungeon. Shamrock even made his entrance by walking down the stairs. No disrespect to the wrestlers, but it kind of looked like a WWE match produced by Wish.com. However, Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart made use of the unique environment, and it was a fun match to watch. In case you're wondering, Hart did win. The Undertaker has been involved in some bizarre matches throughout his WWE career, but the Concrete Crypt match was among the weirdest. The Deadman fought in a 2-on-1 handicap match against the Dudley Boys. However, Undertaker's manager, Paul Bearer, was trapped inside a glass case that would be filled with cement anytime the Undertaker fought back against the Dudleys. Taker managed to win before Paul Bearer was engulfed in cement. However, the Deadman pulled a reverse Uno and filled the case with cement and suffocated his manager. Now, how did WWE pull this crazy stunt off? To learn the secrets, watch the video on screen.